So, hello everyone, I'm back, and today I'm going to talk about Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker in this spoiler review. But first, to summarize my thoughts, I'm going to do a little bit of this funny kind of cool thing. So, let's begin. So, 2016, just before The Force Awakens, or whenever they started working on The Force Awakens, Disney calls J.J. Abrams, and they're like, hey, J.J., we need you to make a Star Wars movie for us. You know, you're really good at setting things up, and we want you to start, putting your mystery boxes, whatever. We want to have a new director on each time. JJ. Well, that's great. I can just put a bunch of things down, and I'm sure they'll figure it out. It'll work out well. Last Jedi is not as good of an audience success as they would have liked for the most part, and there's a lot of online backlash. They fire Colin Trevorrow, and they call JJ. And they're like, hey, JJ. You saw that Last Jedi thing, right? Yeah, sucks to be the person who's gonna have to fix that. And then they're like, well, we were just thinking maybe we could have you direct the movie instead because, you started it, so maybe you can just, finish it as well. Just wrap everything up nicely. JJ, what? Okay, well, see, the problem is I don't actually know what I was setting up. See, I put mystery boxes down, and I'm pretty good at that. But I don't know how to open them because I never actually had to open them before. Disney. Well, I'm sure you'll figure it out. You're a good guy. And then we have the Rise of Skywalker, where it seems like JJ just decided to go on Reddit, find some theories, and turn it into a movie. So yeah, that was really my feelings about the Rise of Skywalker, very summarized. And now I will go into a bit more depth, obviously. So first, I want to talk about Rey, because I feel like Rey is a very important character in this movie and this franchise as a whole. Now, Rey's story started off with her being the scavenger on Jakku, who then is brought into kind of the Force thing, and that all happens. And then the Last Jedi happens, and she's being trained by Luke, and something darkness, parents are irrelevant, yada, yada, yada. Kylo Ren, Force magicking thing happens, and then you get to The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, where suddenly she is a Palpatine. Palpatine. Now, I have a lot of issues with this, and let me tell you, the biggest point in that this movie was derailed for me was when they said she's a Palpatine. Because let's start going through a few things. Well, first of all, why? Second of all, why? And third of all, why? See, I understand the poetry of it all. Yes, a Palpatine can become good, just like a Skywalker can become bad, yada, yada, yada. But if you think about it, right, it doesn't make logical sense. I feel like this was just a way for them to kind of shove, oh my God, look, Palpatine's here and she's the Palpatine and Empress and whatever, because it doesn't make sense. How? First of all, who in their right mind would have a baby with Palpatine, and then that baby would have another baby who ends up being the granddaughter of Palpatine? It's still beyond me. And then on top of that, why is it that Rey is the main character of this trilogy if she isn't even a Skywalker? And also, what the hell is the bond between a Skywalker and a Palpatine now? Is that a thing? So I guess that's a thing now because that's really weird and I don't like that very much either. So Rey's character, though, I felt okay, besides the Palpatine thing, Daisy Ridley did a really good job with what she had, and I don't blame her for that. And Rey also showed off some amazing Force skills, and there was also that last scene with Palpatine where she does the thing with the lightsabers, and it's really good. I love that, and I love all the homage to, things that happened outside, the Revenge of the Sith with the two lightsabers and the lightning on the face. That was all good. I really liked that, and I did like a lot of the action, which I'll get to. Actually, I can talk about it now, but, I felt like the action was really well done. We got the best lightsaber battles, I think, so far since the prequels, I guess, and since Revenge of the Sith, more specifically. And I loved the lightsaber battles in here. I loved Kylo's story. Kylo, as a character, let's talk about him, because I think Kylo as a character was very good. I think he was done the best in this movie, and I think it just shows how unjust his character was in The Force Awakens, because I feel like The Last Jedi kind of pushed JJ to have to, make him seem like the sympathetic guy. And I love that because I feel like Adam Driver did a great job with that. And I'm kind of disappointed that it didn't go farther. And I mean, it was good. I liked it. Now, the Force teleporting thing, let's kind of talk about that in the dyad or whatever they said, a dyad in the forest or whatever. That's interesting because I think that the fact that they are kind of, both like magical and they can do this weird thing with the force where they can teleport to other places, but not really. It's really weird, and I wish they kind of explored that a little bit more than just yada-yadaing it and saying, yeah, it's a dyad thing. And I'm like, okay, great. Well, I'm here, and I'm just going to wonder what a dyad thing is and why Palpatine and a Skywalker specifically and why not, anyone else. So that happened. And then let's talk about Lando, because I think Lando was also done really well in this movie. And I think it was really another good character who was done justice to, but nothing was really expanded upon, They didn't develop him in any way. He just kind of was there as a nostalgia kick, which was great. Then even Palpatine, I think Palpatine was, again, another character who was just there as a nostalgia kick and not as anything else. And so, that has its downfalls, obviously, and I think that if he wasn't just a complete plot device and this wasn't a plot-centric movie, it could have been really well done. Now, I think the fact they didn't do another Death Star, instead they did a fleet of Star Destroyers with planet-killing weapons, because of course, planet-killing weapons. I did like a bunch of the homages, especially with Palpatine. The tragedy of Darth, Plagueis the Wise, he kind of brought that back up, which was really good because I loved those connections. Now, it was really interesting how he was keeping himself alive, and I feel like they kind of yada-yada'd a little bit of how he is still alive and with, Force stuff. And so, that would have been nice to get a bit more of. I did love the little cameos and, the voices and with the Force Ghost before Rey kind of, finally fights, the Luke Force Ghost. And I did like the ending of the movie where Rey kind of gives the lightsabers in. And I do like how JJ kind of explained why Leia was able to use the Force in The Last Jedi by saying she was training as a Jedi and she even had a lightsaber, which was really cool. But now the other thing I noticed, which I didn't really like, was the Knights of Ren. I feel like the Knights of Ren were so useless for these characters that were really hyped up, and it would have been awesome if, they all got lightsabers instead of whatever clubs they had. But, I guess. Now, the other thing I want to talk about was the other retcon that happened in this. One of the many retcons, actually, that happened in this, which was that Snoke was just... They have just a Snoke creator machine and, Palpatine's dark chamber thing. So, yeah, So, Palpatine just made Snoke, I guess. Because, he can, I guess, now. He just literally just plopped out of Snoke and was like, okay, you're Snoke. And so I'm like, okay. So, what about Snoke's story of, I saw the rise and the fall of the Empire, yada, yada. I've been waiting in the distance, yada, yada. Was that just all Palpatine or, please explain. Is it, some creature you created or, what's happening here? Now, I thought the new characters were really weak, honestly, Dio, the droid, was really weak as a character, super underdeveloped and unnecessary, that I would have loved to see some more of that Jedi Hunter person, but, God knows they can't show us the interesting stuff, and so I kind of wish I got to see more of that. I also wish I got to see more of, those people in the horses, and even the Finn's, or Poe's friend, Poe. Poe's friend, the one with the mask and the stuff, and the little monkey. Also, why do you have to kill or wipe 3CPO's memory just to bring it back? Honestly, if you're going to do something, do it right and get rid of him. But yeah, the space battle was cool too, for the most part. It was very much, that final scene was very much the Return of the Jedi kind of thing. And I feel like they kind of ruined the poetry at the very end because Skywalker, I guess the last Skywalker died, even though Rey's now apparently a Skywalker because she calls herself a Skywalker. But I feel like they should have probably killed Rey off and left Ben alive, or killed them both off, because I feel like killing Rey, who said she was the every generation of the Jedi, would have kind of worked nicely, and so, that would have been nice. But, I guess we have to kind of deal with what we got. I did love the chemistry, though, between Poe, Rey, and Finn in this movie. I thought it was the best kind of trio chemistry from this trilogy so far, and I feel like that was something I really wish I had more of. And Maz was just there. She was just kind of standing around, and we didn't get to actually hear anything about her, and she just kind of stood there. And even Leia's death, it wasn't very impactful. I feel like maybe it was just me, but I feel like I've already not only mourned Carrie Fisher's death, but I've kind of it's almost like she should have gone out with a bang instead of like, a little disappear, right? I mean, it worked for Luke really well, but I don't think it worked as well for Leia, and I feel like it was more like almost literally they just put her under a blanket, said she's gone, and then moved on. It wasn't this big dramatic thing, even though, she's like half the Skywalkers that were in this trilogy, and so, or I guess half the Skywalkers that were in the original trilogy, but, And also, they had so many death fakes, honestly. It's just tiring at some point, They had the 3CPO death fake. They had the what's his face? Chewbacca death fake. I did like the Force lightning that came from Rey. That was cool when they're fighting over the transport. But yeah, I mean, honestly, the plot of this movie was probably the point of it. And there were things like the whole Rey being the daughter of Palpatine that kind of seemed unimaginative and really frustrating. And I would have liked for it to be a bit more original with, like, maybe some cameos instead of, like, what happened. But, I guess it's kind of just the way it is. Hux was a spy, which was an interesting turn on his character, which no one saw coming, I guess. I mean, I don't know. But, of course, that's my spoiler review on Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Let me know what you thought of it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share your thoughts. Follow us on social media. And, of course, see you next time. Bye.